Good afternoon. You are watching ABC News and this is ABC Midday. I am Jennifer Somoa. Coming up in the headlines, 46 Democracy Hub protesters assembled in court. We will speak to their lawyer shortly on the outcome of proceeding. Also coming up, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAC, is poised to embark on a fresh strike next week. We will engage the council members. Still to come, the disqualified flag bearer of the People's National favored despite errors. In business, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, has provided financial relief to 251,576 pensioners for September 2024. Also on the international front, India has reported its first case of the new import strain, Clade 1B, prompting a public health alert from the World Health Organization. This and many more coming up this day. Thank you for staying with us. Now the news in detail. Scores of aggrieved Ghanaian youth took to the streets of Accra to protest against the government. Members of the Democracy Hub kicked off the Occupy Jolobi House demonstration on Saturday at the Liberation Road roundabout. This followed their insistence on proceeding with their planned 3-day protest at the Revolutionary Square despite objections from the Ghana Police Service. The protesters burned campaign materials of the governing NPP in the middle of the road, accusing some officials of being complicit in the illegal activity. The protest intended to draw attention to key national issues such as galamsey, socio-economic injustice, unemployment, rising poverty, state capture, nepotism, corruption, and the need for judicial independence. The day 3 of the protest, which was yesterday, September 23, 2024, had an empty road with no protesters showing up. Prior to this, 46 arrested protesters on Sunday are to appear before court today. However, lawyers for the arrested protesters is crying foul of not getting access to their clients as they arrested. Well, joining us via Zoom is lawyer for defense of the protesters, Jonah Adamte. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So how
was proceeding in court?
Hello.
If you can hear, can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. How was proceeding in court? Because we understand your clients will be arraigned before court today.
Yes, so we were informed by the police that the arrested protesters will be arraigned before court today at 9 a.m., even though the police failed to inform us of the specific courts that the arrested persons will be arraigned at. And as I speak to you, it's past 1, but they have not yet been arraigned before any court. So all of us, the team of lawyers, for the Lawyers for Protest Defense, we are the national headquarters where the arrested persons were moved to from their original holding stations. So we are waiting for an update from the police, which as of now, we've not received any updates, but we are hoping that at least we will know where they will be taken to or the next steps that the police will be taking.
So if I get you clearly, there has not been any timelines given to you as at when this whole court proceedings will happen?
Yes, there are no timelines. And beyond the timelines, we have not even been informed of the names of all the protesters who have been arrested. We even don't have that. We've not even had the chance to have any form of conference with our clients. We've not had a chance to speak to them. So beyond not even informing us of the specific courts they will be taken to today, we do not even have the chance of seeing the persons arrested and even have conference with them before they are arraigned before the court for any charge that they may have been charged with.
So from what you are saying, you've not been able to see the protesters, but have you had any information, their well-being, how they are faring? Because from reports, some of them were not even being given food. Have you been able to get any information on that, on their well-being? Yes,
so out of the approximately 46 persons that we have come up with based on information provided by the police and some subsequent arrests that have been made. We know that about 13 to 20 of them, we've been able to find the specific police stations where they've been held since Sunday. And we've made arrangements to give some of them food since Sunday.
We're speaking to the lawyer for Democracy Hub. Well, 46 protesters were arrested during the Democracy Hub protest over the weekend. Let me see if he is here. Hello, lawyer. Can you hear me? Hello, lawyer. Can you hear me? The state of the 46 demonstrators who were arrested by the police during the Democracy Hub demonstration. Well, he's saying that today they were supposed to be arraigned at the court, but as at 1 p.m. they have still not heard anything and proceedings have not yet begun. So he was giving us an update. Let's see if we can connect with him again. Hello, lawyer. Can you hear me? Thank you so much. We lost you at a point. You can go on.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I was saying, we were able to locate some of the protesters and we have spoken to them. We have given them food since Sunday evening. But for majority of them, about 30 of them, we do not know exactly where they were being held. And we've not had a chance to see them. There is one diabetic and asthmatic patient who we were told was being held at Kaneshi. All efforts by lawyers and her family to get to her to even provide medication in case there is an emergency, all of these efforts have proven futile. So the police, according to them, an order from above is that we should not have any access to them or any engagement with the protesters. So that is a major issue we are facing now. As I mentioned, even if they are sent to court today, lawyers don't know the specific charges that are being brought against these people. So it is a very serious issue that lawyers are facing and a serious human rights issue that the protesters are currently being subjected to under the authority of the police.
From you, as lawyers for this group of people, what are the main things you are seeking for when this whole court process starts?
Okay, so we need the police to give us a list providing for the names of all of the persons who have been arrested and are to be arraigned. The police must also provide us the charge sheets, giving us an indication of the charges which are being brought against the people. Okay, and if they are going to be tried at different courts, we want to know those courts that they are going to be arraigned before, so that based on this piece of information, we can come together and then decide on how best we can provide legal services to these people. Our request to the police is that it is immaterial whether these persons engage in any acts that infringes the laws of Ghana or that breaches the laws of Ghana. Even if that has happened, the law, the constitution guarantees the right to dignity of all of these persons. Even persons, politicians who have been accused of stealing huge sums of money, they are not subjected to such inhumane treatment. Even persons who are alleged to have murdered people are not allowed to be subjected to such inhumane treatment. So it is not whether or not the people did any wrong. The question is the police must respect the rights of these people and provide their lawyers and then their families the necessary information to represent them and to provide them the basic necessities of life as they are being taken through this criminal justice process.
Okay, so per reports, some of these protesters are being manhandled. As lawyers to the Democracy Hub, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, so that is very unfortunate, and it is becoming very customary of the police handling of protesters in the country. We saw that last year, and based on those issues that came up, the lawyers filed a case in the High Court to protect the rights of those who were manhandled. But because the case has not yet been held to have a pronouncement from the court, the issue is still ongoing. So we are considering taking further action again against the police, and if possible, going to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to interpret the Constitution and then lay down modalities that the police service must comply with when they are handling protesters in the country.
So what about the child who was also arrested? What's the situation with that? Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, so as at yesterday, we heard from one of the relatives of the child that she had been released upon several requests which were made by the family of the little child. So we know as at now, the little girl has been released.
Released, and she's in good health?
Yes. So we know she's in good health, and she's been given to a caretaker for the family to fend for her until her parents are released.
Okay, thank you very much for this information. Well, that was lawyer for defense of the protesters, Jonah Adamte, and he was giving us updates on the 46 protesters who were arrested during their demonstration at the demonstration hub over the weekend. Well, still on that, Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, Mutaru Mumuni Mukta, has condemned the arrest of protesters at the Democracy Hub demonstration, calling it an abuse of duty by law enforcement officers. Mutaru emphasized in an interview with ABC News that the protesters didn't engage in any provocative acts to warrant arrest, and such actions undermine democracy. These comments come in the wake of the arrest of several individuals, including the leader of the Democracy Hub, Oliver Baka Vomawo, who was accused of inciting public disorder and leading road blockades in Accra.
But what we're seeing appears to be abuse of that, duty by the law enforcement officers. I think that some of these are needless acts that are intended to intimidate or prevent citizens from exercising their legal rights enshrined in the Constitution. So, for instance, if they had allowed the Democracy Hub to protest or to engage in the protest, and I saw some videos that show that they did not engage in any provocative acts, and so it did not require the law enforcement officers to arrest any individual at that point. And so those things undermine democracy and undermine our faith in democracy, and all of us, are poorer for such things. And so I think that the law enforcement officers need to ensure that they protect the rights of citizens to protest. They protect the rights of citizens to engage in lawful demonstration and do not engage in provocative acts or acts that essentially is abuse of office or abuse of the citizens' right, as we saw in this case. But what we're seeing appears to be.
Well, according to the Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, children have the right to participate in demonstrations as there is no law prohibiting their involvement. In an interview on ABC in the morning, Bright stated that children's participation in demonstrations should be guided by certain limitations, specifically that the issues being protested must directly affect them and that their consent must be obtained.
In our laws, there is nowhere written that a child one cannot participate in demonstration. The child do have a right to participation, but there is a limit to which the child can participate. And in that participation, the law is clear that the child should participate in matters that concerns the child. So clearly, there is a perimeter that we have set, or a standard that we have set, if we want children to engage in matters that concerns them. And in doing that, the law also made it clear that their consent is very important. You need to obtain the consent of the child to be able to allow the child to participate in such a program. And the child should be able to have capacity to determine whether he or she want to participate in that.
Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, has stated that the police have a critical responsibility to safeguard children's well-being during protests. Instead of arresting them, officers should prioritize taking minors to a safe environment or temporarily handing them over to social welfare services until the demonstration concludes. This approach, he says, ensures the children's safety remains a top priority.
It is still the responsibility of the police to provide protection for the child, and they can do that either by taking the child from the grandmother to safety, knowing that the environment is not designed for children to be there, or to take certain acts to invite social welfare in to hand over the child to social welfare until the protest is done, and then they will hand over the child to the grandmother. So these are things that we expect. We don't expect that in all circumstances the child's right to be abused in the matter as to whether the grandmother conducted herself negligently or not. The safety of the child should be of a primary interest to the police, and we expect that if indeed they abuse the child, and that should not even happen in any circumstance. It is
away from issues of demonstration to some education, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAC, is poised to embark on a fresh strike next week following the conclusion of a nearly 2-month-long industrial action. According to CTAC, the decision arises from the government's continued failure to honor prior agreements concerning the allowances. Dominic Owusu, a spokesperson for CTAC, expressed frustration over the situation, stating that despite assurances from the government, the promised allowances remain unpaid. He emphasized that the upcoming strike is intended to compel meaningful dialogue. According to him, the government promised by the first week of September to migrate them. Well, joining us to have further conversation is Isaiah Dukron, who is a council member of CTAC. Thank you for joining us, Isaiah.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Well, let's go straight to it. What demands has the government failed to meet following your cancellation of the initial strike?
Yes, in fact, the government has failed in all the demands that the government promised to redeem them within this period, because we agreed that all year round will be paid by the end of August, and it was not happening. And then we also agreed that by the end of this month, or get closer to the end of this September, offline data concerning migration will be given to the various colleges of education so that various staff will see their levels of placement, which hasn't been done. Then when you look at it, they also fail to pay the brass top-up, book and research top-up that they said that they pay. There are other information, it is in the Give Me platform, what and what, we haven't received it. So it's also there. So when you look at it, all that, those weeks, about 8 to 9 weeks, 10 weeks that we were on strike, my dear sister, we didn't get anything, we didn't get any good results, and we actually called off the strike. I can recollect that the day that the strike was to call off, and I spoke to you, honestly, I lamented, and this is what is happening. We have leadership problem. I don't know whether that day you were on the host. Listen, because we have leadership problem. You know, when you are doing something and you don't get to a certain level of assurance, you don't need to look at a mere math promise or people signing, then you accept. And then our leaders, Prince, and then Poma and Bunu, those people, they actually put it into this issue. And now we are planning to embark on another industrial strike in order to ensure that if those things are not implemented, my dear sister, we will not resume work again. because the government of Ghana has taken the workers of the colleges of education, particularly the teaching staff, for granted, thinking that only mere promise can solve our problem. Meanwhile, we want results. Thank you.
Okay, but Isaiah, you've been on strike previously, but your demands were not met. Are there any new measures you are putting in place to make sure this time round your demands are met?
Very good, my dear sister. Our new measures that we will put in place is that if we go on strike again, the new measures are that if the monies are not in our accounts, we won't resume work.
Okay, Isaiah. But are you giving the government an ultimatum?
Yes, we have actually, drawn the attention of the government, even including the senior presidential advisor, a vice presidential advisor at the vice president office. He has received a letter. I think the calling off of this strike was completely from the vice president office. When our leaders went there and came, it was everything turned down that the strike must be called off. You see, and the strike called off, and we don't know where the senior advisor to the vice president, we don't know where he is, and all these problems are still keeping on coming up. We don't know what is happening. I'm telling you, we just punish the student for nothing. We punish the student for nothing, and punish our parents for nothing, because the government is not ready to do it. It's not ready because we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen anything.
Well, Isaiah, talking about students, previously when you were on strike, students were really having issues because you were not in class, and a lot of them were having challenges. This time round, if you proceed with the strike, are there any measures or something that can be done so the students are not really affected?
Very good. When we are to go on strike, we will draw the students' attention that we are on strike, and there's no measures again. The students are going to suffer again.
Well, that's unfortunate. Well, the students will have to suffer again. So it means that what we need is for your demands to be met so that everything will go on smoothly.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Isaiah Dokuron. He is the council member of CTAG. Well, away from that, let's do some politics. Elections. As disqualified presidential candidate of the People's National Convention, Bernard Mona has hinted that the Electoral Commission of Ghana favored certain presidential candidates who filed to contest in the 2024 elections, but however disqualified him for the same consent. Speaking on ABC in the morning earlier today, he said he has been in touch with other candidates who were declared qualified to contest, and their conversation has revealed that some of them committed worse mistakes than him. But let's move on, as we are still on Bernard Mona, who has called on the Electoral Commission to correct what he described as an error in his disqualification to contest as presidential candidate in the 2024 elections. Speaking on ABC in the morning earlier today, Bernard stated that he needs to meet with the EC, and he complied with every law needed for him to qualify for the race, and said the EC couldn't point out any particular errors on his forms, even though he corrected everything needed to be corrected and submitted it on time. Well, these videos later. Let's move on to a political strategist and lecturer at the Kumasi Technical University, Dr. Samuel Friye, who has advocated for significant reforms in the electoral balloting process to enhance transparency and address long-standing concerns over election integrity. Speaking on ABC in the morning, the political scholar emphasized that it's about time the EC considers adopting systems that will bring about transparency rather than rely on unconventional electoral balloting practices.
Same time, for the differences of political parties and balloting and those issues, I think we should have, the EC should come up with a certain kind of system where all stakeholders, right, whether a consultant will be given an assignment to consult people and even stakeholders to ensure that our new way of balloting as compared to other countries. Even I was even suggesting that even during that time that they were doing the balloting, we could have even used, that is my personal view anyway, we could have even used the what we call the lottery machine, where you can place all these numbers of positions, and then you go there, you press it, and then the ball will come out and you pick it.
Still on election 2024, disqualified presidential candidate of the People's National Party, PNP, Janet Nabila, has expressed sadness and disappointment over her disqualification from contesting in the 2024 presidential election, accusing the EC of unfairness and lack of transparency. Speaking on ABC in the morning, the presidential hopeful for the People's National Party, Janet Nabila, says the EC is working against her and is challenging the Electoral Commission to provide evidence of her vice president's failure to sign on their forms.
If someone disqualifies you, you know, the first time the EC spoke, they said that I did not put my qualification and my age on the form. Then later on, they realized that they gave my information to Ghana Web to publish, and the age and the qualification were there. So when I reminded them about that, they then gave me a letter that these are the reasons why I did not qualify. And in the letter, they said that they asked me to submit some omitted papers, and I did not. And I told them that you told me that from 35 to 43, that's voter region. It's true, we left it at the party office. I brought the papers and I gave it to Mr. Samuel Kwa at your audition, who was in charge of the committee that were in charge of vetting the forms. He gave us the letter, and when we came back, it's the same person I gave the missing papers of missing papers to. So if you tell me that I did not bring them back, what do you mean? Then they ran away from that place, and the Electoral Commissioner held a press conference, and at the press conference, she told Ghanaians that I did not, my vice presidential candidate did not file, did not sign. As we speak now, we told them we dare the Electoral Commission of Ghana to show my vice president place where she did not sign to the whole world. If they are able to do that, if they are able to show to Ghanaians that my vice president did not sign, I will leave, I will even contest again.
Nabila, who was one of the 11 aspirants disqualified after a review of nomination forms, claims the Commission's decision represents a wider injustice not only to her but to the people of Ghana, and will seek justice.
So it is because of fear that made them to remove me from the race. Why, ask yourself, why will the Electoral Commissioner pick me out? That is what you should be asking. If not because of my political opponents who have seen the power that was coming, have seen the research that we were going to cause a havoc to all their one way of voting. If not because of that, why did they remove me? They have removed me as a result of fear. And whoever is behind the Electoral Commission is going to lose in the December 7th polls. No one uses their hand to touch me and go away with it. I'm the anointed. So when you touch me, you are going to face consequences. Disgrace will follow you. I will. Yes, we are still doing that. Today we've asked our lawyers to go and file. So it is because
still on election matters, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has insisted on the need for an independent audit of the 2024 voters register. According to the Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Dr. Edward Omanibuama, the Electoral Commission lacks the capacity to build a robust register for the 2024 elections. He said this during a meeting with some civil society organizations and other stakeholders to present the party's observations with the register. It's not just a matter of fixing the errors, but also the vulnerabilities inherent in the register, he said on Monday, September 23, 2024. The NDC said it has lost trust in the Commission because the EC does not have credibility and reliability as it stands.
It is great to hear that. We can't help but wonder when the EC received the evidence from the NDC. The way Lawyer Joyce Bauer is nodding, I'm sure this is Lawyer Joyce Bauer. Next slide, please. So, with all this, do you expect us to trust the EC? We cannot trust the EC. GS, please, can we trust the EC? No. So, if you don't trust the EC, we are justified. And I'm going to go through some of the reasons for us not trusting the EC. Trust depends on reliability and credibility. If you look at the trust equation, the numerator has reliability and credibility. Very, very strong points there. There's a third one. Credibility, reliability, very, very important.
Meanwhile, the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Fifi Kwete, has reiterated the party's position that they won't be going to any court over disagreement in the electoral process. According to him, the NDC will work their way out to ensure the right things are done before, during, and after the December polls. He also bemoaned what he described as the hypocrisy of some stakeholders over the composition and behavior of the Electoral Commission.
Really? Really? Went to court? We have already signaled that we are not leaving this election to any courts. We have signaled that we are not leaving this election to any court. And it's sad. Again, speaks to what has happened in this country over the last 8 years. A total decay that has taken place. The kind of decay that we see what you call MPP attired people occupying our electoral commission. Now, we're not saying that people who work at the electoral commission do not vote. They do. We're not saying Farijan never voted or what's the name? Charlotte to say never voted. And never in our history have we seen what you call die in the world communicator of the MPP being parts of the Electoral Commission. And we actually wrote to the Council of States, and Council of States said there's nothing we can do about it. And Dr. Omani just mentioned to you the Great Peace Council and what they said 2016 and what they are saying today. I feel sad for this country. I feel really sad for this country. The hypocrisy in this nation, the double standards in this country is nauseating. And it's we are saying today. I feel sad for this country. I feel really sad for this country. The hypocrisy in this nation, the double standards in this country is nauseating. And it's important that we do everything we can to ensure that not just that the MPP leaves, that we set up a system that simply...
Away from that, let's do some business now. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SSNIT, has provided financial relief to 251,576 pensioners for September 2024, disbursing a total of 450,000 million. The payment made on September 19 covers pension benefits under both PNDC Law 247 and Act 766. The September disbursement saw an increase of 996 beneficiaries compared to August, highlighting SSNIT's commitment to extending financial support to more retirees each month. This latest payout aims to reinforce the importance of financial security for retirees, ensuring they receive their entitlements promptly. With the next payment scheduled for October 17, 2024, SSNIT continues to urge workers to actively plan for their retirement to secure the full benefit of the scheme. The Food and Beverages Association of Ghana has voiced strong opposition to the Ghana Revenue Authority's introduction of new machines for tax stamps, describing the move as a financial burden on struggling businesses. Reverend John Awuni, president of the association, expressed concern that the GRA is placing the cost of acquiring these new machines on business owners who are already facing economic hardships. Speaking on ABC in the morning, Reverend Awuni argued that the GRA's demand was unreasonable.
Community against the introduction of this, and government defied our requests and appeals and introduced the business community already against this extra tax stamping. And now when you are coming out and then you want to change machines like their oranges or their vegetables, you just want to discard and change, and it doesn't lie well, because the people who you are already, it's already an imposition. It's adding a cost to their business. And so if you want to change, buy the machines and bring, and say that I'm bringing you machines for you people to be able to enhance my tax collection. Nobody will discard that. Nobody will disagree that, because you are a state. So GRA can equally do that by bringing in new machines and install at these facilities. But ECG shouldn't come and say that we think that our meters are inefficient, so buy new machines. If tomorrow GRA comes with machines and say they want to install at the facilities, nobody can fight them. They have the backing of the state, and if you are fighting them, that means that you are engaged in one illegality or the other, that you don't want them to install the right machines. At this point in time, we are saying that we don't want to accept it, because the cost element is very high, and we don't really have the finance to finance this new project. They want to do more, especially when the ones we are using have no problem.
Away from business, let's take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. Coming up. The Ghana Football Association has announced the dates for 4 outstanding Premier League matches. FC Samatters 1996 will take on Gold Stars FC at the Insatry Sports Complex, while Asante Kotoko host Nswetroman FC at the Lenclay Stadium in Obuasi in Midday 2 fixtures, scheduled for Wednesday, October 2, 2024. On Wednesday, October 9, 2024, Nswetroman FC welcomes Brekum Chelsea to the Nana Konamansa Park, while Madiama SC hosts FC Samatters 1996 in a Western Derby in a Midday 3 fixture, scheduled to kick off at 6 p.m. Except the Madiama versus FC Samatters match, the remaining outstanding games will kick off at 3 p.m. local time. Let's take a look at what is happening on the international front. India has reported its first case of the new Mpox strain, Clade 1b, prompting a public health alert from the World Health Organization. This highly transmissible strain has been linked to the Mpox outbreak in several African countries, including the Democratic Republic of Congo and Morocco. The case was detected in a 38-year-old man from Kerala who recently returned from Dubai. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, is a contagious virus that causes painful skin lesions. The WHO declared Mpox, which used to be called monkeypox, a public health emergency in Africa in August. Since then, the new variant has spread beyond Africa to countries like Sweden, Thailand, and Pakistan. Health officials are closely monitoring the patient's contacts, but no symptoms have been reported so far. India has previously recorded over 30 cases of the older, less infectious Clade 2 strain. As Israel intensifies its most aggressive military campaign against Hezbollah since the 2006 war, the group's response has remained relatively muted, despite firing around 250 rockets into northern Israel yesterday. Hezbollah has refrained from deploying its larger and longer range weapons, which has raised questions about its current strategy. According to Lebanon's health ministry, the ongoing Israeli airstrikes have led to 492 deaths, including 35 children and 58 women. More than 1,600 people have been wounded in the attacks, with the civilian population suffering heavily from the conflict. Meanwhile, Israel's military reports that it has tracked 1,300 Hezbollah assets targeting suspected weapons, storage sites, and military installations. The humanitarian crisis continues to escalate in Lebanon as thousands have been displaced, further complicating an already devastating conflict. Let's do some entertainment now. High life sensation Kofi Kinata ended his concert abruptly, showing solidarity with victims of a recent accident involving his car. The accident occurred at Abuaze in the western region on Sunday, September 22, 2024, as Kinata and his crew were en route to the performance. The victims, who were riding a motorcycle, collided with the singer's SUV and sustained serious injuries. At the concert, the Efiekuma hitmaker apologized to fans for cutting his performance short, saying the victims are still receiving treatment and I feel it's not right to continue performing.
I say when you be here, as I know that I know now what I suppose to see. What I suppose to see. Okay, you want to know. Everybody in accident that will play Matasa. Now, young car, no matter what car we know, they are okay. But I want to crash here, or the boat and what crashing. When you okay, Martin and I'm going now when you okay. It's an opening I can't want to we feel there. The way I'm confident, you will feel it, we feel I am nice there. Maybe big there, who are there, Maliji baby, it's no. I see, number I say, but Thomas, you'll be busy next time. I remember what I say.
Well, that's how we wrap up today's bulletin. Let's take a recap of our top stories. 46 Democracy have protested, assembled in court. Also, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAC, is poised to embark on the first strike next week. Also, the disqualified flag bearer of the People's National Convention, PNC, Bernard, says some parties were favored despite errors. In business, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust (NIT) has provided financial relief to 251,576 pensioners. And on the international front, India has reported its first case of the new import strain, Clade 1B, prompting a public health alert from the World Health Organization. Thank you for staying with us. I am Jennifer Soma. Don't forget to follow us on social media at ABC News Ghana. Good afternoon and enjoy the rest of our programs.